Shalom, everyone. We're going to read Parashat Noach today. If you want to raise your hand or draw on the screen, this is how you do it. I want to remind everyone who hasn't signed up already that I'm offering my first course coming January 19th on my website under courses. You can see I've got it offered right there with two different times. An earlier 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and a later 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, whatever that is in your local time zone. Let's see, Cheryl, I see your hands up. Are you ready to read?
Sure.
Awesome. Here's first verse. Go right ahead.
אלה תולדות נוח, נוח איש צדיק, תמים, היה בדורותיו, את האלוהים התהלך נוח.
Perfect. Very good. אלה תולדות נוח, נוח איש צדיק, תמים, היה בדורותיו. את האלוהים התהלך נוח. All right, ele is a demonstrative pronoun. In English, demonstratives are this, that, these, and those. If you can touch them, it's this and these. If you can't touch them, it's those, that, and those. Ele is a near demonstrative. These are the toledot. Wait, where's are? Well, there is no verb are or is or am in the present tense in Hebrew. So it's simply assumed. We have to supply it. And these are the toledot. The root of this word is familiar to us.
ילד.
It's right. We know it is yalad, to bear children, like yeled is a child. It had an original vav. So vav lamed dalet, it's showing up here as a mater vav, but the original root letter is vav. Tav prefix, feminine tav, I say prefix, preformative, and a feminine tav sufformative in the plural, ot. So that has to do with the pattern, though. It's something like I guess generations is the best way to describe it, but it could be something like the annals, history, chronicles, generations of an individual. Oh, Noah. This little symbol here says we have a pause. Noach ish tzadik. Okay, we have another case of a missing verb. Noah is or was. Well, actually, no, it's right over here, isn't it? Okay, sorry about that. Ish tzadik tamim haya. So our subject is over here. Our predicate, I guess, if you want to call it, is all of this. And then here's your verb. Not exactly the same sentence order we're used to in English, but hey, it's a different language, so we have to adapt and overcome. Noah, a man, a righteous one, a blameless one, he was. And then that wasn't enough for the writer of Genesis. He threw in a classifier, a caveat, if you will. Bedorotav. What's the root of bedorotav?
דור,
דלת רש"י oder דלת רש יוד.
דור,
Door.
Daled by
Mhm.
Resh.
generation.
Right,
Door.
Yeah, door. Yeah.
right. So has anyone ever heard of la dur or maybe dira?
That is habit or
A
Apartment.
dira is a flat, an apartment.
yes, and ladur also.
La dur is to dwell.
Madur.
So a dor in biblical times is a generation. Dor vador. Have you ever heard of that? Dor vador, generation after generation. And so here it's bedorotav. Be is the preposition in. Dorot is an irregular plural. Generations, and then of
Him.
has both a plural yod and a vav that says it's his. In his generations, or here it says in his time. So the rabbis kind of run with this a little bit, and they say, well, yeah, he was a righteous, blameless man in his time. Compared to other people, he wasn't really that righteous. I mean, later on, he plants a vineyard, gets drunk, and who knows what happens between him and his son Ham. But compared to the people of his generation, he was a saint. God told him to do something and he did it. So he was righteous and blameless. Well, bedorotav, whatever that means. Et haElohim hitalech Noach. Okay, et can either be what two things?
With or the direct object marker.
Why can't it be the direct object marker here if you didn't see the word with?
Because the verb is before.
Yeah,
Haya.
the answer is in the verb, but it's not the word
Yes,
order.
Um,
Where's the verb?
Hitalach.
Okay, here's your verb. Hit-
yes. Oh, yes.
Hithalech, it belongs to what verbal pattern? What binyan?
Hitpalel.
Hitpael, which is some kind of reflexive or reciprocal action, meaning verbs that show up in hitpael cannot take a direct object because the direct object is built into the verb.
Yeah.
If it's reflexive, then that means whoever's doing the action is also receiving it, like washing myself. I'm both doing and receiving the action. I am the direct object. This verb cannot take another direct object. If I were washing my dog, that wouldn't be a hitpael. If I'm washing myself, then it's a hitpael. So it's built in. Also, if it's reciprocal, if we are hugging each other, then it is implicit in the verb that whoever the subject is also receiving the action. It cannot take a direct object. So when you see et alongside a verb that cannot take a direct object, your first thought should be, it's probably et with. Et Elohim, with the Elohim or with God. Hitalech, walking about with him, did Noah. Whatever walking about with God means. All right. Any questions?
Very good.
All right. Who's my next reader?
I can
I
go.
can-
All right. I
Okay.
think I saw Monica. I think I saw Monica first. Go ahead.
Okay.
ויולד נוח 3 בנים, את שם, את ham,
Mm-hmm.
את יפת.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Vayoled Noach shlosha vanim et Shem et Cham ve'et Yafet. These ets,
Object marker. Dummy.
how do you know it's an object marker?
Because
The verbs at the beginning.
Yeah, the verb here.
Mm-hmm.
What binyan or what
But-
verbal pattern does it belong to?
Weyekto.
That's the form. It is a vayiktol. So that says it's narrative past. But when it comes to the binyan, that's what shows a certain, if you want to call it voice or nuanced meaning to the verb. And that could be in any form, past, future, imperative, doesn't matter. It belongs to hif'il, which is a causative binyan. Not only is it vayiktol narrative past, it's also hif'il causative. What's the root?
Balad.
Same
Yalad.
thing same thing we saw in Toldot, right? Vav Lamed Dalet. Wait, so if it's Hif'il and the root Yalad means to bear children, then what does Vayoled mean?
He fathered children.
Well, we can see that they wrote he fathered, absolutely. And the point is that he caused someone
Children to be
to
born.
bear, or he
Yeah.
caused someone to be born. The point is he caused bearing. He is the father. We all know how that cause and reaction works. It is going to be the result of his he feel verb. He caused to be born Shem. He caused to be born Ham and Yafet. Who did? Noach. That's our subject. I guess I would kind of, okay. What we have here is a case of apposition where we have the same thing stated twice. He fathered, here's your object. Shlosha vanim. Come again? Oh yeah. Et Shem, et Ham, et Yafet. These are two equal statements that are juxtaposed because they're adjacent because they are one and the same.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I often don't see the direct object marker of tet when I'm reading biblical in the Bible.
Yep.
Is it implied is this a construct here, or is it implied? Because I just see it missing a lot when I think it should be there.
You're right. You're absolutely right. There are plenty of places where it should be and it is not. In this particular case, it should not be there. The et has to be both pointing to the direct object, but also the direct object has to be definite. Shlosha vanim is not definite. If it were the three sons or his three sons, then it would be definite. But
Okay.
shlosha vanim, some three sons, is indefinite. Therefore, it is not necessary in this particular case. Now, as soon as you have a person's name is always definite. So here the et is showing up as we might expect. Now, are there places where we expect there to be an et because there's a definite direct object, yet it is not there? Of course there are. Why? Well, for two reasons, two primary reasons that I can think of. Three. Let's go ahead and give it three. First off, the simplest solution is it's often left out in poetic texts. Much like we'll leave out certain helping words in poetry because we're trying to fit it into a certain meter, or we word it a little bit awkward so that it can be rhyming, or you know how poetry is. There's a lot more forgiveness and can I say poetic license when you're writing poetry. Same thing in Hebrew, is you're not going to see a lot of words like prepositions, definite direct object marker here, definite articles, the relative particle, a share. You won't see that maybe. All right, so poetic is probably number one answer. But there's a better answer, in my opinion. And the definite direct object marker, the direct object marker, was invented at some point. How do we know? Because other languages do not use they either do not have a direct object marker like Hebrew does, or they have a completely different one. Ugaritic doesn't have one. Aramaic uses a lamed. I'm not sure. I don't think that Arabic has one because it still has case endings. The point is, when Semitic languages lost their case endings, those vowel endings that tell you whether it's a subject or an object, that's when the need arose for some sort of direct object marker. And each Semitic language kind of solved the problem however it deemed necessary, whether they invented a direct object marker like Hebrew and Aramaic did, or whether they just relied on syntax and order of the words in a sentence. So because it's invented, that tells you that before it was invented, it doesn't exist. As it's invented, you see it showing up a little bit, but maybe not consistently. Later on in later biblical Hebrew, that's when you find it showing up consistently.
Yeah.
And then poetic texts come along and stop using it. So this is another reason why we don't see et all the time where it ought to be. And the third one, who knows? Maybe somebody made a grammar mistake somewhere.
Grammar.
I'm not gonna rule that out. You know, we're all human. There are plenty times when I accidentally leave out an et when I should put it in there. So are there places in the Bible where maybe somebody should have put an et and they didn't? Well, we can't rule that out. These are the main reasons. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Who's the next reader?
I can.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Okay. ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוהים, ותמלא הארץ חמס.
Very good. ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוהים, ותמלט הארץ חמס. We have two verbs here that have the same pattern, not the same root, but the same pattern. What do these two verbs have in common? Let's list them out. Go.
Vayiktol.
Vayiktols. What is vayiktol again?
Is past. It's past counting, telling a story.
Good. I call it narrative past. You're telling a story and you're telling what happens next in the story. Narrative past. What else do these have in common?
They're both reflexive.
Okay. They're both reflexive.
And they're both the same tense.
I disagree. Are they both reflexive?
No, I don't think they're both reflexive, but both.
Is there a better word than reflexive to use? What did you say, Sarah?
They're both the same tense and talking about the same person.
Okay, well, we can certainly nail that down. They're both the same person. They have a tav, so they're both, well, what is the tav prefix? What person, gender, number? We have two options.
3M, 3MS. Oh,
That would be a yod.
3FS.
3F at third person, meaning outside the conversation, feminine, gender, singular, S. So this would be the equivalent of she. Why is it she?
Haaretz.
Because haaretz is feminine
Haaretz.
singular. And the verb and its subject have to agree. So 3FS, 3FS. Good. Okay. Someone said
Reflexive. I said reflexive.
You said reflexive. Someone else said reciprocal, and I disagree with both.
I said passive.
Because reflexive means I do it to myself, right? Is the land doing something to herself?
No, the people are, but not the land.
Okay, very good. And reciprocal is when we have multiple things doing something to each other. So the land is not doing something with someone else. She's not even doing it, but rather it is done to her. Wait, so when we say a subject does something to an object and then we flip the subject and object, that's called, it's the difference between my wife loves me versus I am loved by my wife.
Oh, it's passive.
Passive. Both of these are passives. Now,
I said it 5 times.
very, very good, Christine.
I'm very passive.
Passive. They are both passive, but I want a little more than just the word passive.
Simple passive.
What does that mean? Exactly. Think of the donkey sound as a reminder of the nifal pattern. Nifal is one of those binyanim, one of those 7 verbal patterns that is either going to be passive, such as it is here, or it could be one of those reflexive reciprocal ones, but not here. For the sake of completeness, can anyone think of a verb that is nif'al, that is either reflexive or reciprocal? No? How about nilham? Now it looks a little bit different than what we have up here, because up here, these are va-yiktol, meaning they have yiktol prefixes. And I'm giving you the lexical form, which is usually the past tense or katal or complete or perfect tense, whatever you want to use to call it. But anyway, the root is lamed chet mem. What does it mean? To battle,
Mhm.
to fight. You can't fight against yourself. You need someone to fight with you. So it's either going to be, well, this one is going to be reciprocal. You're doing it with someone else. And maybe nishmar. Is there a better one? Yeah, I don't really like this example, but I'll go ahead and use it. Nishmar is either the passive or the reflexive of guarding. So either I am guarded, or here it's he is guarded, or he was guarded, or he is guarding himself. He is guarded as passive. He is guarding himself is reflexive. But that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the similarities between these two words. Are there any other similarities? Do these two words have anything else in common?
Why is there a dagesh in the first of all in the tav, and then in the first letter of the root?
It's a good question. Does anyone know why there's a dagesh first off in the tav?
It's
Noon.
to do with the binyamin. It's to do with the tense. It's to do with
Yes.
it being imperfect.
Yes. Okay. So it has to do with being vayiktol. Its tense is
Yeah.
vayiktol, and vayiktols are going to have a prefixed vav, patach, dagesh.
Mm.
So these three things together, oh, that looks terrible. Let's try something better. Let's use maybe this. Okay, so the vav, patach, dagesh tells us it's vayiktol. Now, the second part of the question is, why is there a dagesh in the next letter following the tav?
That's the noon.
That's the noon. Remember, we're looking at a nifal binyan, and nifal has a noon in it. Well, it's supposed to, because remember, noon is a weak letter at the end of a syllable. It likes to assimilate. Oh, well, that's just brilliant. We expect nifal to have a noon, and then it goes missing. Leaves the rest of the word standing by the altar.
So that dagesh is the big hint that it's a nifal.
Very
Mm.
good. Yes. When I mentioned earlier the e-ah sound, I include that dagesh. So these three things together are the primary diagnostic feature of a nifal in the yiktol, or here vayiktol. All right, that having been said, let's practice a little. How would you take the verb nilcham, which means he fought, and turn it into and then we fought in the vayiktol?
Nilkamu?
Put it in vayiktol, right? What's the vayiktol prefix?
Nilkamu?
Vav.
Noon. Noon.
Nilcham.
Hang on.
Vav.
What's the vayiktol prefix?
Vav
Vav.
Nilcham.
Vav patach dagesh. So
Still
let's
the
start with
prefix,
that.
yeah.
All right. So we can use well, I'll tell you what, I'll rewrite it over here. Let's start fresh. And here we go. Vav patach, dagesh. Now, who's the subject? And then we fought. Good. So
Nefanu.
that would be a prefix, nun.
Nun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we need to put the rest of the word in here, which means fought. Mhm. That's right.
Nefanu.
Our root will be lamed, chet,
Et.
mem.
Mem.
Okay, now we have to worry about the dots and everything and the vowels. How do we know it's a nifal?
Because of
Another
that.
Dagesh.
So we're going to copy this pattern over
Yep.
here. E-ah, e-ah. So we've got
The
E,
guess
dagesh, and ah.
comments.
Now this last vowel can change a little bit on us. If there's a suffix, it can reduce to a shva, but we expect it to be a tsere. So let's go ahead and copy that over.
Hmm.
How do you say, and then we fought?
Ve.
Yeah.
Nil. Lahem.
Vanilachem. Vanilachem. And if I took the vayiktal prefix off, what does that turn it into? Nilachem.
Yekto.
We will fight.
We will fight. And if we change the noon out for a yod,
We fought.
We
He
be
will
fighting.
fight. He will fight.
if we change the noon out for a yod,
Oh.
He will
He
fight.
will fight.
he will fight. And if we change the yod out for a tav,
She will fight.
either you or she will fight. And if we put an u on the end, which causes this to drop down to a shva,
You.
We
will
will
fight.
fight.
no,
You will
tav,
fight.
tav at the front, u at the end is you plural.
Yeah.
Word
You will
yeah.
Tilachamu. Tilachamu.
Masculine plural.
Yeah, masculine plural.
Yeah.
How about tila? Oh, what would that be? right here. I don't think it's tilachemna. I was thinking it was maybe it drops to a segol or something. Tilachemna.
Tilachna.
No, there has to be a chet and a mem.
Because the stress is in the
Yes.
suffix, yes? Nee,
No, the stress is right here. I think it's tilachemna. Can anyone double check? Let's see. I could pull this right here. I mean, it's so rare to use feminine plural in the nifal. So just let me nifal feminine plural. Nope.
And
It's
for
going to be
fighting.
it changes
Zeven.
to a patach. Nope.
Oder? T.
Women don't fight.
We don't fight.
That's why it's so rare.
We
Okay,
argue.
so let's see. This right here changes to a patach. Tilachamna. Tilachamna. At any rate, so that was a nice little nifal tangent. Third feminine singular, the earth. Vatishachet. The root shachet has to do with waste. So the passive to be wasted is translated as either destroyed, corrupt, no good anymore. So here they're calling it corrupt. That's fine. The earth was corrupt, or it was wasted, or it was, in a sense, destroyed. Lifnei ha'Elohim, in the to the face of the Lord, or here they have in the sight. To God's face, whatever. Vati male, what is male?
Filled up.
Fill. Right.
Fill.
So the word male means to be full. Mile is a different verbal binyan that means to fill something.
Mhm.
That's the difference between your kal verb, which is a state of being. Male, he was full. Whether he ate a big meal and now he was full, or whether we're talking about a cup. The cup was full. And then in the other binyan, the PL binyan, this one is kal. And then the PL, which has an and a strong dagesh, that means he filled something. Meaning he made something be malay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what milay is. Here it's in the nifal though, so it's the passive
Yes.
being filled or to be filled or was filled.
Mm-hmm.
The land was filled, Hamas. Well, that's weird, just having a noun after a complete sentence. I wonder why that would be there. Well, because it's adverbial. It's showing how the land was filled with
Yes.
Hamas. And
The
Hamas is
it was land of violence.
yeah. So Hamas is the biblical word for violence. I know a lot of people can make the connection between this word Hamas with the organization Hamas. Technically, there's a difference. The organization is spelled with an extra aleph, but the similarity is certainly intentional, in my opinion.
That's a very good verse because Lifnei ha Elohim, and God creates a man in his likeness, and the man don't live this likeness.
Right.
So crazy,
Yeah.
yes?
That's it.
Oh,
Who is the next reader?
crazy.
Shall I read?
Yes, of course. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. Vayera Vayera Elohim et haaretz vehine nishhata ki hasham hash hait kol asher et darecho al haaretz.
Good. These are well, at least these two are the E sound. So how do you pronounce this first syllable?
Hish.
Hishchit.
Yeah.
That's it. Very good. This first word is a little tricky. The aleph has no vowel attached to it. It has quiesced. It is not pronounced at all. It has gone completely silent. It's like the G in bought. It's not doing anything. So the word here is vayar, and this little symbol tells us to put stress on the yod. The full form of the word would have been, well, it's kind of counterintuitive for me to do this, but hypothetically, the full form of the word would be yir'eh, with a vayiktol prefix. Now, the reason this is counterintuitive to me is because vayiktol prefixes are not going to have mater lectionis letters. So for me to write it like this is actually not how it would show up in the Bible. But if you had a standard yiktol form, then it would be like this: yir'eh, he will see. There's a vowel here because there used to be a yod of the root. It went missing.
Yes, very good.
Because of human laziness, and now there's a vowel marking a vestige of what that yod used to be. But in Vayetol, say it apocalypse. Vayar. This one up here is Vayar.
It's a two extra vowel. Okay, that's fine.
The mater has fallen off. In the yiktol, it would be yir'eh.
Is it easy to mix that up with fear, like the fear of the Lord? Yira. Isn't an olive, does not have an olive as well in it?
Okay, if you look at the vowels, hang on a second. The only way that it could be mixed up, I think, is in the jussive. If you're looking at the vowels, it's almost impossible to mix them up. But remember, the vowels were added later on. So if you think about before the Masoretic scribes, is it possible to mix the two up? Oh, sure, absolutely. If you don't get a hey here, it looks an awful lot like yara, to fear. Like, for
Yes, yes.
example, ve yara or yare. Would it be yare?
Mhm.
Yare, yara. I don't remember. I'll put yara. This has the same consonants as this, but it means two different things. V'yara means and he feared or and he will fear if it's a vekatal. This up here, and he saw. Absolutely. There's also the jussive form yar, which means something like let him see, versus however you want to write this one. Again, yara, he was afraid, or ye. That would actually have to be ye.
Yir'eh.
Usually it would have two yods in it. Yira means he will be afraid, but if it's spelled defectively, yira, he will be afraid, then they look the same. So yes, it is possible to get them confused, but keep vowels.
Context, I guess.
Context helps too. Context is king in Hebrew. Vayar Elohim, God saw, et haaretz, he saw the earth. Vehine nishchata, pausal form. The regular form would be nishchata, with two shvas here. But in pausal form, it retains, it puts the stress on the penultima, nishchata. Hishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. Oh, sorry, I left off ki. That makes more sense. Hishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. God saw the root, please, of Vayar.
Yiktal. Oh, yeah.
What's the root?
Vav, Ra, Resh, Aleph.
That's fearing.
Is it not
Here,
the same? Or Yod?
no. Here the yod is the yiktol prefix. So your
Alright.
first root letter is the resh.
Okay.
Resh Aleph Hey.
Or resh aleph yod, and the yod is missing. It's a weak letter, often goes missing. Et haaretz vehine. Does anyone know the meaning of the word hen?
Yes.
Grace.
No, that's hen, spelled with a chet.
Doesn't it mean yes? Like
Hen.
No, does it mean they?
I see what you're saying.
Is that they?
They.
Okay. In biblical Hebrew, they feminine will be henna, which is spelled with a tzere, henna. Third feminine plural, henna. In modern Hebrew, you can say hen. That is correct. It turned into hen, but it comes from a different word, henna.
Okay.
Right, so now these look the same, but no, that's not what I'm looking for. Now, Cheryl, you said it means yes. You're getting warmer. In what sense does it mean yes?
Behold.
I see it like hen. I see it written like there's agreement or something with something that's been said.
Hen would be, using it two times would be something like indeed this, so also this, or just as this, so that, or so, in that sense, it means yes or indeed, or I agree with you. The original meaning of hen is here.
Here.
So if you have a, let's call it a directional hey, on hen, it's here word.
Oh, it's like here I am.
Well, that would be hineni, which is like here I. Here I am. But if you just want to put a directional hey on it, hine, it would be here word, which is like look over here, which is translated into English as behold. Hey, attention, please. So this word hen is there are plenty of places in the Bible where hen refers to a location.
Or bohena, you hear that a lot. And
Bohenna, exactly. Bohenna or boyhenna. That's right. So that would be I believe that the two are related. Hine nishchata, there's our shachat again, having to do with waste. It's got a nifal nun. It's got a 3fs suffix. She was corrupted, or she was wasted, or lost. Not really lost, whatever. Why? He tells us because he shchit kol basar. What's the difference between nishchat or nishchata and hishchit?
One's
What is-
passive and one's
all right?
On one side.
an action upon.
Passive.
Passive is the right word for this one. What do you want to call this one?
Active.
It is active.
And
What else?
it's past, it's a past tense as well.
Okay, completed or past tense. That's
Yeah.
good. But what binyan?
He
He
feel.
feel. Right. We've
Feel.
got a hey right here and a yod right there. So it tells us causative he feel.
Dachte ich mir schon. Yes. Oh.
Causing waste.
Causing.
So all flesh caused waste or corruption on what? At darko.
Their
what-
ways.
Their way.
Their ways.
On their way.
It's the object, yes?
Yes, this is
The
the direct
ways are the
marker
object.
because this is the object of this. Here's your subject. Actually, technically, kol basar is your subject. And there's your direct object. And then al ha'aretz. Does anyone know what is it? I don't know how to ask the question without giving the answer. What kind of a phrase is this that I've circled here?
A prepositional phrase.
Good. Preposition is the key word I was looking for. A preposition is a word that shows the position between
A
two
position.
objects. So al tells us upon the land. So that means maybe kol basar, and upon it, or excuse me, is upon the land. So it shows a relationship between two objects, doesn't it? This one and this one, or kol basar, which one?
Okay. That is very interesting because
I could be wrong. Hang on. It could also be
Darko.
their way. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Their way upon the earth.
the way. Also, okay.
So you're looking to figure out where what the relationship is between all of the nouns in your sentence when you see a preposition. A preposition is anything that a rabbit can do to a box, right? On, under, beside, through, in, without. All of those are prepositions. Okay, we're now getting into questions.
Yes, I
Go ahead.
when the basar, also it's okay. When I say this translation, you can use bring good news, but the basar flesh is for me a person, like a person, and bring good news. But here is complete evil. That's like a metaphor. I don't know
It's
I
different
can
from
use it
English
as a
from
metaphor.
German.
Or,
It's different from English and German.
Well, isn't he asking a Hebrew question though?
Sort of, but not quite.
In Hebrew, the
I think
word.
it was an English. I think it was a sort of German translation of the English.
If I can restate the question, I believe, Thomas, that you're asking, why is it that basar means both flesh and besorah means good news? Why do they have the same root?
Okay, I
Or
think
live,
the root.
or
Yes.
livaser is to bring good news. Why do these two words have the same root? Is that your question?
Yes, I think yes, okay, the root meaning. Okay, yes, Besora is the word. Yes, yes, yes. Besora with Shema under the page.
Hang on a
Besora.
second. I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Basal. This is
I will look for that.
good.
Besora.
American Monday, Bashal. Ooh. Arabic, Ethiopic, Akkadian, Bishru. Okay. All right. I want to, when I see two roots that look the same but have completely different meanings, like basar in the sense of bring good news. It's really livaser, but whatever. It's a PL versus basar, flesh. Tell you what, I'll just leave the vowels off and we'll just look at the root. It can be their flesh.
It's who be ser.
Body.
Who be ser.
Say again?
Who be ser would be like he
Brought good news. That's
yeah,
right.
brought good news.
Right. So the infinitive is levaser, like this, with a strong dagesh. I think it goes on the other side, like right here. Levaser, and then in the 3ms form, like you said, biser, he brought good news. So it has the same root as basar, something you put on the grill.
Yeah.
Or something you try to defeat within you because it's the old man that's still sinning and you're trying to kill the old man within you, as the New Testament puts it. The point is they seem to have the same root. Now, when I see that, I try to figure out, I wonder if one of these letters or more than one of these letters came from two different consonants originally. What? Hebrew has 22 or 23 if you want to count sin shin separately, has 22 consonants. And conservative Semitic languages have 29. Where did the other 7 go? Well, they got swallowed into a single letter. There used to be a het and a het. Today, there's only one letter. There used to be a zayin, and there used to be a zayin. Today, they're the same letter. There used to be this one's a little tricky. There used to be a, well, it's probably something more like shin, and sin. What? Those sound a lot alike. So one of them sounds like an SH with a lisp, sin. Yeah. The other one is piercing, almost like a whistling sound. Sin. And then the that's an S with a little what do they call that? An acute on top. And then the other one is pretty much like a th sound, but it's behind the teeth.
Oh, yes, it's Arabic more.
Okay, so there are 3 different sheens. So that means we have options here. Also, when it comes to bilabials, you have to wonder whether they switch back and forth. Does anyone know what tarzel is?
Barzel?
Oh, you're saying barzel.
Barzel is iron.
Iron.
So what is barzel?
No.
Aramaic. Okay, so what you'll see sometimes is changing out of bilabials. So because I see this bilabial, it makes me wonder. Remember, I talked a while ago about the month name Marcheshvan. Does anyone remember that? Marcheshvan, which means month. Shvan is equal to the Hebrew shmone. Shmone, but that has a mem in it. I know. Mem is a bilabial and vav is a bilabial. It was a w sound that you pronounce with your lips. So shmone and shwone were originally from the same root.
What about
So
Lamet and Resh?
lamed and resh.
Were they mixed up ever?
Are you talking about this?
Well, just I'm talking about old
Oh,
languages.
lamed and resh?
Because they're both liquids and they often get confused in many languages.
I agree with you, and I'm just trying to remember if there's an example in Hebrew. I recently read an article about how it got mixed up in Egyptian, but now I'm trying to remember if there's one in Hebrew. And I'm toast. I can't remember.
Okay.
What about Gimel?
Okay, so Gimel Gimel originally has a g sound.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can turn into a k sound, much like
Yeah.
it did with our ABC instead of ABG. Do you know that the alphabet was originally ABGD, just like it is in Hebrew, and it turned into ABCD
And
because
Greek.
g turned into k. All right. The other thing to worry about is that ayin had two letters, and one of them was pronounced like Rayin, which is what Gimel without a Gimel without a weak dagesh used to be pronounced like. So you do have to worry about that right there, especially Arabic speakers. It's kind of difficult to distinguish the two, versus but yes, that's something to juggle. What other? Oh, okay. So there are two ayins. There are. Oh gosh, Tzadi's the worst. Somebody asked a question in the group chat about Netzeret, Netzer, Notzri, and Mitzrayim. And it brought up the fact that Tzadi comes from three different forms. There's a tho sound, there's a tho sound, and there's a vo sound. In Arabic, they're all still there. Hebrew, they all got lost. And in Aramaic, I think it's oh, please don't mess me. I think it's this one that turned into a tet. So each Semitic language kind of does its own thing. And when you notice that kind of pattern where it looks like these roots are related, but Aramaic turned it into a tet, Hebrew turned it into a tzadi, Arabic turned it into a d dot. It's like, oh, well, then we know what it originally was.
Yes, yes.
Also, you have to worry about metathesis, multiple, pairs of root letters flipping. Like, for example, when I looked up basal to bear tidings, I noticed that in Syriac, they swapped the sa and the ba, and they spelled it with a samich. So sabar means to bring good tidings, but in Hebrew it's basar. Same thing happens with sha'ar. What is sha'ar?
Gate.
Sha'ar is a gate. And then does anyone remember what it is in Aramaic? Is it shara? Where it switches these two around?
Or
It switches.
is it ta'ar because sheen is a tav in Aramaic?
Not always. Only when it was this letter right here, that's when it turns into a tav.
Yes, that I think before you say that, because that is a little bit equal.
There are plenty of
That's the
places
reason.
where the sheen turns
One
into
reason.
tav into Aramaic, but it's because of that. Like shalosh in Aramaic is tlat, TLT,
Yeah.
because they both come from thalath. Thalath, right. Okay, sha'ar, samich ein pe fe, tzadi kufresh. Should be here. Sha'ar, ein pe fe. Where are you? Oh, here it is. If I can figure out how to use a dictionary. All right, sha'ar is tremble. No. Sha'o. Oh, wow. There's a lot of sha'os. Horrible. Okay, here it is. Is a gate in biblical Aramaic. You got it. You're absolutely right. It's tra. Tra. You called it. Tra.
Oh God, this
All right. So what's happening is
a
that
bit
the
different.
first part of this okay, how do I say this? There are multiple things going on here, so let me just do one at a time. You mentioned how shin and tav go back and forth if they were originally a th sound, so that's one thing. The metathesis of ayin and resh and ayin, that's a second thing. And then the vowels is a third thing. Whereas in Hebrew, our seglet words have penultimate stress and then an invented or artificial vowel follows. In Aramaic, it's a little bit different. They reduce the first one and leave the second one. Ah. So it's Aramaic is notorious for reducing vowels down as much as possible. If you can reduce it to a schwa, do it. That's Aramaic's philosophy. So here, these two words are related, but they look like they shouldn't be because you have multiple principles going on here. Anyway, so back to the original question. Basar bet sin resh, as I was, oh, you didn't just do that. It was over here. It is. Okay. So as I'm looking at the etymology of this word basar, I notice that Arabic, Ugaritic, and no, just those two, changed it to an SH sound for bearing good news. But then again, that's not really exciting news because Arabic did that for almost all scenes, turned into sheens, and almost all sheens turned into scenes. And so that's not big news. But Ugaritic, turning it into an SH sound is important. Ugaritic is like the next door neighbor of Hebrew, and it has a sheen, but Hebrew has a scene. So there's something to be said. Are we looking at two roots where one is a scene, the other is a sheen turned into a scene? Then beyond that, I also noticed that Akkadian also preserves this word with a pay instead of a bet. So are we looking at pasal or pashal instead of bashal? Well, maybe not. If all the other Semitic languages have a bet and Akkadian's the only one that has a pay, then maybe that's not enough evidence. Okay, I'm not trying to answer your question as to why these two roots appear to be related. I'm trying to teach a lesson on how to differentiate roots that look the same. There are lots of principles. So we've gone over a lot of information. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just to extend what you were saying, and I hope this is relevant. But if we look at the first two words, because I'll be honest with you, I would have initially pronounced it the way that Sarah did. So if we took the root and ra'ah, so as opposed to God seeing, it would be more like the seeing God. So it would be hara, hara'ah, hara'ah Elohim as an attribute of God. Would that be correct? I'm changing the word. I'm changing the word. So
right. So I hear, are you changing the vowels or are you changing this consonant also to a hey?
What I'm trying to do is, initially I would have saw this as an attribute of Elohim if I didn't see the English translation there. So it would have had to be something like hara'ah Elohim to be an attribute of God, the seeing God. Maybe I'm
okay. So let's run with this. Hara'ah. If we were going to make it an attribute, it would probably have to follow the noun that it's modifying. So it would be ha Elohim, ha, and then if in order for it to modify, it needs to be a participle which is essentially a verbal adjective. It would be ha Elohim, ha ro'eh.
Okay.
Now, remember, this is also what was it? Hagar that was talking about Adonai Ro'i. Remember Adonai Ro'i, the Lord who sees me? What it's
Yes,
using is
that was Hagar.
participle. Who was it?
Hagar.
Okay.
Hey,
So
wasn't
that's
she Abraham's concubine?
yes. Uh-huh.
Huh?
So that's
Yeah.
taking the participle ro'e, which means masculine singular seeing, but then adding a suffix e to the end, which is me, first person common singular. So seeing me is where we get the ro'i, Adonai ro'i, the Lord, the one seeing me. But the point is that if it's going to modify a noun, it has to be a participle. It have to be ha-ro-e, and it would have to come afterward. Now,
Afterward.
and then beyond that, we also have et to contend with. Et presupposes that there is a verb somewhere. And it could be a participle, it could be an infinitive, it could be a conjugated verb, but it preassumes that, or presumes, it assumes that there is a verb. So we have to look for that verb, and here it is. And then lastly, we can't just lop off the vav and change it to a hey. We have to do something with that vav. Let's see. What we could do to amend this text is we could turn this into no, because it would need we got to do something with the yod. I don't think there's anything we could do with it to turn it into. Okay, that was a good exercise. All right, any other questions? All right, long verse. Who wants to read? Jesse, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay. Vayomer Elohim leNoach ketz kol basar ba lifnei ki mala haaretz hamas mipnehem vehineni mashkitam et haaretz.
Good. What's this word?
Lifnai?
Lefanai.
Lefanai.
Okay, very good. Vayomer Elohim leNoach ketz kol basar ba lefanai ki malaa haaretz hamas mipnehem vehineni mashchitam et haaretz. Here's your hineni. Behold me. What kind of a word is this? Mashchitam. Earlier we had hishchit.
Hifil.
Is it a participle?
Very good. So it's a he feel participle. Yes. So we know that it's a participle because of the mem at the front. And we know that it's a he feel because of
The hey, yo.
unfortunately the hey is missing, but there is a patach, and because of the chirik yod. So the e sound.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's a participle, it's he feel, and what's going on at the end of the word though?
It's saying it's making the object them on the end.
Yes. The is a pronominal suffix which refers to 3MP. So somebody is doing a causative action to them. Who's doing it?
And them is object?
And them is the object.
Okay.
So who's the subject of this adjectival verb? This participle?
God.
Destroying the earth.
Hineni. Yeah, hineni. Look at me, or here I am. Participle doing the action to them. Okay, that's probably the best way to translate it. Here I am doing something because it's a participle.
Yeah. Yes.
So behold me, Mashchitam. Mashchit is causing either waste or destruction, or what was the word from earlier? Defilement, some other D word, wasn't it? How did we translate it? Hishchit kol haaretz.
Is it correct?
Corrupt. It was a C word. Never mind. Corrupt. Et haaretz. Wait, we have a pronominal suffix
No suffix.
So why do we have another et right here? Is there another object? Can you have two objects on one verb?
Yes. Yes.
Can
An
be.
indirect object and a direct object.
Well, that's
But there
okay.
is
That's
no
technically that's a
communication.
little something different. Okay, having an indirect object. What's the difference between a direct object and an indirect object? The direct object is the one that directly receives the action. I hit the ball. If I say I hit Jimmy the ball, did I just hit Jimmy?
No.
See, Jimmy's now the indirect object. He's not receiving the action of the verb. He's receiving the direct object. So if I hit Jimmy the ball, I'm hitting the ball to Jimmy.
The prepositional phrase, it's with, it's not a DOM.
Very good. So my point is that most of the time a verb takes one object. So if you have an et following, then maybe it's a with instead of a direct object.
Yes.
But to answer the question, can a verb take multiple objects?
Yes, with a conjugation. With ve et
Well,
haaretz.
excuse me. What I mean to say, like for example, I could throw the morsels, and I just threw multiple things. I realize that, but I'm saying two different words. Is it possible to have two different direct objects? Most of the time, no. On rare verbs, you can. If I teach Jimmy, or if I teach the lesson, or if I teach Jimmy the lesson, well, hang on. What just happened there? It's okay for me to teach Jimmy. I'm giving him knowledge. It's okay for me to teach a lesson. But when I say I teach Jimmy the lesson, does he become the indirect object or is he the direct object still? Oh, in modern Hebrew, you can have two direct objects on certain verbs, but it's not common. Yeah, so since it's not common, I'm with Cheryl on this one. Because I see the as an object on the end of mashritam, I think et must be with, and the translator agrees with me. Noach. What kind, this is getting a little too deep. Whatever. What kind of, how do I ask this? What pattern does the word Noach belong to?
It's missing the vav in the middle.
Correct. It is missing a vav in the middle. The root should be nun vav chet. Now, what pattern is the word?
Noach or Noach?
Noach.
It's like a participle, I think, but
Is it?
Pull out.
Is it a participle?
I can understand the reason for each of the answers you all have given. So far, they're all wrong.
Oh.
Okay, ask the question again. Ask the question again.
What is the question again? The question is Noah's name, Noach. What pattern does the word follow? What are patterns? Let's start with that. What are patterns?
Noun pattern or verb pattern?
Well, that's the point. That's the point. Whether it's an adjective pattern, noun pattern, verb pattern, something else pattern. What is a pattern when we're talking about Hebrew or any Semitic language, really, but specifically Hebrew? What is a pattern?
It's
a pattern. Okay, go ahead.
Anything on the root?
Essentially, it's a framework within which three consonantal root letters are inserted. Okay, so whether we have Mishmar, no, think of a different one. Migdal, Mishlach. All of those words have the same pattern. How about Kodesh, Chodesh, Godel? Technically, Gova is also another one. Those all have the same pattern. Melech, Yeled, is it Tevesh, Tesh, not Tesha, Tevel. No, that's Tevel. What's the word for straw or fodder? Teven. Teven. All of those words have an pattern, right? I'm asking about the pattern. So the pattern is the vowels and preformatives and suffomatives without the three root letters. Let's try. Let's try a different one. Okay. Let's start with an easier one. What's the pattern of this word?
It's Qatar.
Qatar.
Good. We're taking the pattern and then throw in arbitrary root letters kuf tet lamed in that order.
Yeah.
So
But
the
it's a
pattern of
noun.
basal is kata. Good. It's usually a noun or an adjective, some sort of a descriptor. It describes something as being mere flesh. Give me another word that follows the katal pattern.
Yeah, basar.
Davar.
Yeah, I know, but give me
Hamas.
another one.
Hamas.
Okay, good. Yeah, Hamas. How about
Yes, same in the
davar?
text.
How about Adam?
Gamal. Gamal.
Gamal is a verb. It has a patach instead of a
Gamal
kamat.
is
The camel.
Camel.
The camel.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, of course. Gamal, the noun, is also from the katal pattern. All right. Good. All right.
Yes.
Now let's go to. Okay, how about this word? What pattern does this word belong to?
Segolets.
Katel. Katel.
What was it?
Segolet.
Because the accent's on the first syllable. So
Yeah.
What's put in the kuftet lamed? What's the pattern name?
Qatar.
Ketel.
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 Ketel. All right, so hang on a second. You're going to have to explain this to me. Why do I see here, but you say here?
Because definite.
No,
It's a definite noun.
Eretz is
It's because ketel, if anybody here saw my video about segolets, you'll remember that ketel patterns actually derived from katel. The original form is katel, and this tul is hard to pronounce, so an artificial segol was shoved in there. And that had an effect on the preceding vowel and turned it into an S sound as well, ketel. Aretz, however, because of the aleph, probably the preceding hey, it preserved its sound. Unless it's by itself, then it's eretz.
So it was arts. So it was arts.
Very good. Yes. So in Arabic, for example, outs. Pretty cool, huh? What would tell you what? I'm trying to edge you all towards the right direction ultimately. What pattern is this one?
Hotel.
Kotel. It's also a seglet. It's an O flavored seglet. Kotel. And this word would have originally been, well, I say it would have originally been. This O sound was originally a long U sound. So it would have originally been kuj. Kuj. And then this kuj turned into koj. And then an artificial segol makes it kodesh. Voila. About that. Now, how about this one? Rochav. What pattern does that belong to?
Kodash.
Okay, sorry. What does this word mean? Rochav.
Width.
It's a
Width.
participle.
Width, not length or
Width.
height, but width.
Width.
It's with a D, width.
Width.
Is that a
It's how
street?
wide
Is that
something
also
is.
a street?
Rahov is an open area. In biblical Hebrew, it means a plaza, but in modern Hebrew, it means a wide street.
Yes, yes, yes.
So Rohav is a noun, much like Kodesh is a noun. Rohav is a noun. It's also a hotel pattern. What? But that's not an S sound. Why not?
So Noah
The
is
gutturals.
hotel.
So gutturals prefer ah sounds over s sounds. So rohav instead of rohiv, which is harder to pronounce.
Yeah.
Rohav. So this is the same pattern as Kodesh.
So Rochav is a segelet also.
Rohav is a seglet. How about Gova? Or Gova.
Yeah.
Gova.
What
It's the
does
same
it-
thing.
What does it mean?
Gavah means to be high up or to be tall, and
Okay.
Govah is
Pronounced.
height.
Height.
It's the same pattern. Oa, because here is
Pronounced.
another guttural.
No.
It reminded me of the word gadol for some strange
Right.
reason.
Gadol is large. Govah is height. All right. So now that I've given you all this information, let's go back to the original question. Oops. What is the pattern of the word Noach?
Segelet.
It has emphasis on the noon, which is the first root letter. So the first thing you should think is segelet. Now, what kind of segelets do we have? We have the katel, kitel, and kotel. So is it going to be katel? Is it going to be kotel? Or is it going to be kitel?
Kotel, because kutal and the kutel pattern or what?
Okay, so I
Kotel.
see an O here and I see an O here, right?
Yes.
I have a question. Earlier we saw the word yoled, vayoled.
Is valad. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Remember the word vayoled. Why is there an O sound here? Isn't this a he feel and should have had a patach? It should have been vayoled. He feel has a patach. Vayaw with a W sound in the vav. Vayaw.
Oh, yeah.
So why did it turn into an O sound? Because ow in Hebrew.
The Arabic's wallet.
So I ask again, is this an O or is this a av with a vav that turned into O?
Who knows?
Who knows? How could I possibly know? All right. The point is, it's probably one or the other. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a segelet. And why do we have this here? The vowel underneath the chet.
It's a guttural.
It's a
Chet
guttural.
Chet, ein, and consonantal hey have this issue that when they come at the end of the word and the preceding vowel isn't already an ah sound, they insert one. It's probably from Judaic, from stop it. The dialect of Judea seems to have inserted this furtive patach. And that's why we have it today in our Bibles. So Noach would probably originally have been either Nauch, like this, or Noch, like this, or probably actually Nuch. Does anyone know how to say Noach in Arabic?
Noé?
Is it?
No, it's just in Spanish. I'm just guessing.
I can't remember if it's Nuch or Nuach or if it's Noach. And that would help us answer the question of whether it was originally this or originally this. But the point is,
I
it's a
began Aramaic. I think it's Noach, but I'm not sure at all.
we'd have to double check.
Mhm.
Huh?
And here comes Cat.
Here comes the cat. Anyway, so this was a little bit of a lesson on patterns and how weak letters,
All over the
can I
place.
say, adversely affect what we expect in a pattern. What are our weak letters primarily? The ones that can't stand on their own and will either disappear, assimilate, or turn into a vowel. What are those three letters?
Yod, Lamed,
Lamed only does it one time.
Vav
Vav,
and Hey.
Noon.
And Nun.
and Nun.
Yod, Vav, and Nun. So because of the Vav here, we get problems. That's the problem, Vav. And can you find another word on this page in this verse that has a missing Yod, Vav, or Nun? We've already said we've got a missing Vav here. Is it winter where you are?
Yes.
What will it
Yes.
be in 6 months?
Spring.
Summer.
Spring.
Oh,
How do you
no.
say that in
Summer.
Hebrew?
But is it the kites?
Kites. Kites.
Kites. Is
Kayitz.
Kite.
Does
Mhm.
cats? Does cats come from kites?
probably.
Sure.
So cats has to do with the
Missing a
end, and kites has to do with the fruit that comes at the end of the season, at
That's
the
how
end of
you
summer.
say summer.
So we've got a missing yod here. That's why we have a tzere.
Mm.
The tzere lets us know that there was probably an original yod here, much like a cholam or a kibbutz can tell us that there was an original vav there.
Mhm.
Okay, keep going.
Mhm.
I count 3 more.
Call.
Also,
Is there a missing vav here?
Yes.
yes,
Good.
call.
It's hard for me to know whether there's a missing vav here. I'm trying to remember, is the root kaf vav lamed or is it kaf lamed lamed?
It's
That's the Kaf Lamed Lamed.
Half
Kaf lamed
Lamed,
lamed.
Lamed.
What would this word be
Yes,
in
that's right.
the kotel pattern?
Kolel.
Kotel.
Kolel.
Olel.
Olel.
Include. Shoot.
Here, let me ask a different question.
Uh-huh.
This word right here, this root right here, what would it be in the ketel or katel pattern?
Komad. Omad.
Ahmed.
Omed.
Um,
Ah.
Is a people.
Yes.
yes,
Can we have a dagesh at the end of the word?
no,
Not usually, so we don't get it. Unless we add a pronominal suffix like mo. Then we get to see it. Did you know that
yes.
is a katel or ketel pattern, just like melech is?
Mhm.
That's why we say malko. It has an ah sound.
So
So
are
this
these
word,
ein verbs?
huh? Very good. These are roots that have a second and third root letter that are the same. They are ein or geminate. That is correct.
Mhm.
So
What does that mean?
when we have okay, or amam is the root of the word people. The second and third root letters are both mem.
Right. Okay. And is it a verb as well?
I know that im means with, means people. The verb amam or I thought had to do something either with being joined together or darkening. Didn't we talk about this before?
Yeah, darkening is roots.
Darkening, I thought it
yes,
was,
darkening.
Then maybe later on it has a secondary meaning having to do with joining. I don't know. But we did discuss it before. But this is the word people. There's a dagesh in it because the second and third root letters are the same. So go back to the original question. Is there a missing vav in the word kol?
No.
No.
If we make a kotel pattern, it would be kol. And because these two letters are the same, they simply collapse into each other as a strong dagesh. Kol. Oh, but we can't have a strong dagesh at the end of the word, so we're going to just make kol. And then if it's in a closed syllable, closed unaccented syllable, then that a long vowel has to turn into a short vowel. So is there a missing vav here? It's part of the pattern. It's not a root letter. The root is kaf lamed lamed. Okay, so that means that wasn't one. Here we had a missing yod. Here we have a missing vav. All right, what about here?
Bo.
Yes, vav as well.
Very good.
The vav was swallowed in bo.
Exactly. So let's see. Has come. Let's assume this was originally a katal verb. Bawa.
Bawa.
Which it should have actually been bawa, but because the aleph is quiescing, it turns into a long vowel, bawa. This awa is what simplified down and turned into ba. So there's a missing vav there.
Yes.
All right. That's all of them, right? There's probably a missing yod here. There's a long story behind Vayiktols. There's probably a missing yod right there. What's missing here?
It could be a
nun. This is min from, and then it got lost into the pay.
Yes.
Lots and lots of weak letters that went missing in just one verse. We can learn so much about weak letters just by studying one verse.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've come to the end of our time. Thank you so much for coming. As if anyone hasn't already signed up for the beginner's course, please do. It's on the website, Hungry for Hebrew. If you want to support these free classes, this is how you can do it. And I look forward to seeing you all. Hang on a second. Will I see you all next week? No.
Yes.
I'm going on vacation.
Oh, good for you.
I'm going to be hanging out with a good friend of mine that I met in Israel. So I am not going to be here next week, but I will be back on the 19th, the debut of the beginner's course.
Wow.
So look forward to seeing you all then. Lehitraot v'shalom.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.